during the time that I was around, he ran a gas station up in Tacoma. And I worked there for 6, 7 years. You learn a lot. Dad always used to say, you run, you do not walk to the pump island.
Yeah.
You wash the glass all the way around, and you smile. And he lived to be, what was he, 101 or 102?
Well, 101 and a half. And the Masonic Lodge here gave him a life certificate at 100 years of age. We had a big party out at a little tree farm south of town here, and I think the one comment I always remember is he hoped that the Masonic Lodge would get their money's worth after giving him a life certificate for the next 100, But then I took up some voice, especially in high school, and I took some lessons from a gal, Mrs. Rowland, in this little town of Sunnyside, who had been an understudy with Schumann-Heink, who was a great opera singer in Metropolitan Opera. And she kind of brought me along a little bit, and I did some solo work and some duets and things like that. Sang college choir, concert choir, and that sort of thing. So I've always been involved with music. And of course, Verna's a darn good flutist. And she was first flutist in the Northwest way back in '49 in high school, both orchestral and band. And so I always say we played beautiful music together. But, music kind of overlaps culture. That's one of the things I enjoy about Scott, is watching him play the tuba and a few things like that. And it's one of the better sides that I've noticed. Right?
All right. I played the E-flat alto horn when I was in the 4th grade, and then I switched over to the trombone, and I stayed in the trombone until I was in college or in high school. And then I played French horn for a little while, and then I became a tuba player, and I've continued that up until just fairly recently. I played for 38 years with the community band down in Albany. Show off and people look at you and applaud, whether they want to or not. It's considered the thing to do.
Well, the farm living in that day, Dad was working daylight till dark, armed with horses then. In fact, I didn't know horses had heads until I was about 12. Spent all my life, behind a horse, plowing, disking, elevating, whatever. Milk cows, started milking cows when we were young. And by the time you do part of a day's work and you have breakfast, then you work. So there wasn't a lot of energy. Well, communication wasn't that interesting or exciting in the day. Weekly newspaper, radio was not the kind of communication that we have now. So you didn't talk about what so-and-so is doing in Washington, D.C., and those things are pretty abstract. So it was schoolwork, work. In the fall, we'd all pick hops, earn enough money for clothes for school, a pair of shoes. Really didn't have a lot of time to just sit around and talk about the weather and international politics or whatever.
Impressed upon me is you tell the truth, you don't lie, you don't cheat, and you work hard. That was basically it. You run, you do not walk to the island, wash the glass all the way around. That was basically it. Keep the restrooms clean.
I think kind of an aside, as the only son in the family, I think I always wanted to work as well as or hard as, get as much done as my dad. And I think when I was 10 or 12, I could pitch hay and shocks and do the hard work of the day like he did. And I probably did it pretty well. Came back to OCE at a time when they had just were in the process of moving into a new education building, the one that is now the old education building. And I was involved then in developing the University Counseling Center, the counselor education program, and then a silly little thing called preschool television. We brought the best writers, producers, actors, people in preschool television from all over the United States. They're on campus, the only one ever held. We worked hard that summer. I also had taken over the counseling program that I had written and created. But the interesting thing, that preschool television is now Sesame Street. But it's been fun to watch. It's kind of interesting to go through the aging process. I'm 86 now, and Verna's 82, and still playing flute, and she's going to play Amazing Grace with an amazing kind of musical character next week. And she played in the Pop for years, and in the reconstituted band here in Monmouth. But it's a different process to watch how we evolve, and to look at it over 60 years. See how we change and how we mellow out about a few things. Once in a while, somebody stops and they say, have you ever thought about, or we need a little help, or we've got this bond issue, and often it's a personal contact. And I think that the same thing happened when Scott and I got together about 15 or some years ago and got talking about scholarships and so forth. And so I guess my life has been involved in service and work. And I think I've grown, and I've had some great travels and involvement in different parts of this country as a result of it. But I didn't do it by design. Well, I don't know whether I was good. I had fun, and we accomplished a few things. I guess that's kind of the way it happens. I don't know. You ever wonder?
Yeah. Just don't think about it. You just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got the idea. Dad was worked long hours and didn't have much time for anything of that sort. But I just kind of graduated. I drifted into it, I would think. The first thing, as soon as I turned 21, I remember I joined the 28th Legislative District Republican Club up in Tacoma. We hadn't elected a Republican out of that part of town since the Hoover administration. But, it's just one thing after another. It's one of these things that you just did. And you got involved in community activity. And of course, when you get to a smaller community like this, you wind up knowing an awful lot of people, and you know what they're interested in, and and you take a little more pride, I think, in your community if you're in a small town than if you're in the big city. It's easy to get lost in a city the size of Tacoma, or one of the so-called metropolitan places. But it's interesting. I've managed to touch most bases in Monmouth, and I like the town. It's been good to me, and my job is to be good to it. I got started with Don, and I put this thing together because he had his goal, and I had my goal, and we figured we could just put them together and make them work out, and we keep adding things to it all the time. My interest in this has been that when I was as a lawyer, I worked and had contact with a number of charities, a number of charitable organizations, and some of those outfits have a terribly high overhead. You give $1 and you get a better chance it's going to go towards the administration of the operation than it is going to go to the purpose for which the organization is established. And we kind of decided that we weren't going to do that. And so this is one of the reasons why I've enjoyed working with the Community Foundation, because we have absolutely no overhead. Anytime that money comes up, somebody just reaches into a pocket and gives it. And we managed to somehow or other wind up solvent at the end of the year, and the contributions that we get from the public, they go to charitable purposes, and 100 cents on the dollar, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed most about this. I just hope that they've had as much fun their part for this community as I have and as Don has. I think that's it.
Well, I think it was kind of interesting to watch communities, but certainly the community foundation and the scholarships and watching this classroom enrichment effort grow. You know, we've been fortunate. We started with a little handful of money, and that darn thing has grown now to about $750,000. You know, and that's a lot of nickels and dimes, and to fund this effort over these 15 years. And I can't say that I've missed it. It's been a good investment. But it's interesting to watch more Latinos get involved in being honored and awarded with a little project that we've created in Rotary to honor 9th, 10th, 11th grade kids who are judged by their teachers as being outstanding students in math or music or whatever. And we've found that when we first started, we had about 5% Latino, and now we're about a third to 40%. And I think this is a marvelous kind of thing to watch evolve, that we're meeting the needs of all. And then to watch the synergy that takes place when adults get together and dream about things that we do in the foundation efforts and libraries and so forth, and to watch them become more stabilized and provide, well, some of the bouquets for the community we can brag about, and it brings us back together again in bigger purposes. And that's the thing I've enjoyed about this whole foundation effort, and just being a part of it. It'd be terrible to have to sit at home alone and not go out and attend a meeting and try to figure out how to raise some money to do a little something and whatever. Well, that's kind of my story. Scott and I really kind of worried about this whole thing. I worried about him struggling through it more than me, of course.
Okay.
Then I looked in the mirror and I realized I was just fooling myself. It's kind of scary, you know, who your friends might be in any community.
Yeah.